Yeah, okay, I'll go and do it again.
And I'm going to
There you
record
go.
on my end.
There you go. And oh no, this is your Rings of Prime versus Tolkien Legendary video. Okay, so that here it is, right there. Got it. Retweeted it. Retweet. Got it. All right, we're set. All right, that's done.
Okay.
And that big old grizzly bear, its tongue sticking out.
So
Yeah,
now I see.
56 seconds.
Oh, you know why? I did something stupid. This has got to be. I blocked us out. There we go. So now, in theory, let me actually. You know what? Let me move this way over so I don't do that again. By do a stupid thing again. Because I'm using the other screen right for monitor for the Discord.
Yeah.
So let me put my YouTube that I'm watching on the side to make sure nothing blows up, like on a different monitor. This is when having multiple monitors works, and this is why I really want to have a 6 monitor setup. To be honest, not I have two.
Six.
I have two 42-inch 4Ks, but I'd like to have like six 4K, but maybe 32 inches, 34, and then like two above, three above, and three below type of thing. You've seen that setup. If you look around, like that's kind of how stock traders operate.
I have two in front of me and one above me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one above me is Discord.
Yeah. Okay, so looking good live. Let me say hello. Hey, Jaden, how you doing, buddy? Thanks, Jaden. He's been with me from the beginning. He's a Lord of the Rings fan. Speaking of which, we'll probably chat about that too. I'll give people. So if anyone for Jaden, I'll give people like 5 minutes to pop in, then start talking about some stuff. So I can see the live chat over there. I know there's a way in Discord to make it appear as well. I don't have that active right now because I just yeah. See that?
Cool. Okay, 4K. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. Excellent, man.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Hello, chat. Hello, Jaden Hamilton.
Yep.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
And if anyone's wondering who that one real person in the bottom right of my corner desktop is, that's my grandmother who got me into all this stuff. Yeah. So
nice.
that's why I have her looking up at it with a smile.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. Where can I put? Here, I will move Discord over a bit, and I will put YouTube chat up there. You can check out YouTube chat.
You know that like something I know is just talking tech stuff. Like when we turn off our camera and just put like a the Discord image or whatever, the Discord picture is tiny. You think they'd make that bigger? Like
you know what? You think they would let you like OBS fill that whole thing in with a graphic?
Yeah.
You know, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to have the entire square, this ugly brown color, because Discord doesn't even let you do that. It takes it from your avatar. It goes, what's the average color? That's what I'm going to use. That's why mine's like that poop brown color, because Conan,'s like his body is the majority. Whereas like if you had like a blue like Mustang has, this is almost blue, so his background's blue. And it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, so
I like that whole thing to be like a picture.
Well, I know there's a whole Discord API that like different people use when they like a lot of times under some of the streaming services. So my cousin might pop on too. So that's why. Yeah. A lot of times, how do I put it? Like let's say I don't know Streamlabs in particular. Let's say Streamlabs just to sake of argument. Like they have OBS and Discord and using and they customize via the API how it works together. You know what I mean? So they'll use parts of it versus
learning information for the first time that may be valuable. Are you saying I should be using Streamlabs?
No, I'm. That's why I said just as an example of a company. I'm not saying that they. Like I don't know in particular what each one does. I know what most of them seem to do from what I've read around. So they'll use they'll have OBS running on a server and and Discord feeding people into it, but they use the OBS API because there's an API underneath all that. And using the Discord API, they'll make it custom, so you don't have to deal with the windows hopping all over when people change their camera and whatever.
Sure.
So the functionality is built into it. That's what I was reading. I was trying to find how to stop Discord when you change when people turn the camera on and off.
If you figure that out, man, I'm so excited because that's the main thing. And I have Streamlabs, so if Streamlabs is the way to go, I'll do that.
Yeah. Hey, Roman Empire, salve, my Roman brother.
So do you have Empire Hill.
Yep. Yep. He's going out with Mrs. of the Empire. Yep. That's fine. No problem. No problem, brother. I know it's early for you out there. I don't know how long I'm going to go. It's going to talk. I'm just going to talk about my origin, how I got into all this, and then with Mike, and then we'll pop on. We'll talk about some topics and call it. I'm not going to do like a 7-hour mega stream for 50 people. That's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that'd be crazy if I sit here for 7 straight hours with just talking. That'd be a little crazy. But I was saying, I was trying to read about that window thing, and that's when I learned that a lot of because there's more than just like Streamlabs and Stream.io and Melon. Apparently, there's like a couple dozen or more of those type of companies out there, and they all basically started some dude like you or me taking like OBS or one or two other programs like it, and using Discord API, or sometimes like Microsoft Teams or whatever, and making a custom smorgasbord to get something to work, and then they grow into bigger companies, but they're still like not like mega software companies, so they can't tackle everything at once,
Yeah, no, I'm hoping there was a turnkey solution. Because, like I was saying to whoever was for Monday nights,
I heard, but haven't found it yet. That there are overlays that you can put into Discord that may solve that problem. I don't know what those are yet. I just was reading something about it the other day.
Overlays for Discord,
like kind of like add-ons for Discord,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there are third part. Jaden, give us okay. It's 6:05. I will talk about that as soon as I finish what I'm saying to Mike. Okay. So I just found out about them on I think Sunday during the Giant game. I was reading around like something about add-ons for Discord or whatever to manage. They get an whole window thing we're talking about with the camera, and someone said that there's some sort of overlay add-ons for it somewhere, But I haven't found anything past that to know if they like where you'd get those or whatever, But
okay.
it might be a function of that Discord Nitro, which I haven't activated yet. I might do that just if, since I'm a regular live streamer now.
I have whatever that is. I think, or I don't know. I'm paying Discord the $10 a month or whatever it is. So whatever that gives me, I have not seen anything that lets me do anything. So. All right.
So Jaden has a question, so I'm going to open up a browser window here and mark. This one, nope. You know what? This is stupid. I hate Firefox not because the browser, because the company went woke, but on the Linux side, it's easier to get Firefox working. Because I won't use Chrome. I'm not going to kiss Google's ass,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I have all three here. I have Edge and Firefox and Chrome.
Yeah.
I know there's others, of course, Chromium, which is
Chromium is the source. Like Chromium is the pure open source one, and then the others. How do I put it? The other ones like Chrome, Brave, Microsoft Edge. They're all like forks of it.
Looks like am I on my VPN? Nope, it's off. Okay. Can't connect to my Discord client. Oh, I have to authorize. There we go. Select server. There. Select the channel. Guess I'll try it out on.
So I'm going to call up Jaden. I'm calling up. If I can find it. You know why I have to do it this way? It always finds that's a Nemo window that's posting. Remove. I should have had this window already. Wait, there it is. I do have it already. Why am I being dumb? There we go. Okay, that should be visible now. Okay, so I got Jaden. I'm gonna, so everyone knows what we're talking about. I'm gonna call up the Dark Elf trilogy and talk about it, so people understand what we're talking about.
I think I found it.
Found what?
I'll copy it in. I can't copy it in chat. You can't look at it. I will tweet it at you. That's what I'll do.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we can talk about it live after this. Okay, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jaden Hamilton's asking about the Dark Elf trilogy. So what the Dark Elf trilogy is, and I call it the Wikipedia page for it, is a series by the author R.A. Salvatore. Now, R.A. Salvatore is a longtime writer and player for Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. And he wrote way back in the day. Like he's also written other stuff like if you look at the Wikipedia, like Vector Prime, the first novel in the New Jedi Order series, for which he took a hit for killing Chewbacca in that one, but it was still a pretty good book, and so forth. But he created a character, Driss Do'Urden. It's one way to pronounce it. That's usually most of us who, in my group say it. Not Drizzit as some people, but Drist, double Z's or S's. And the character is pretty much the most popular narrative character in the whole AD&D, D&D fandom as far as books go and stories go, right? And he's written a multitude of books about it. If you remember, you actually had playable games. I don't know if he wrote the first book off the playable game or the games were based on the books, but the first book, I'll go back to so we can talk about it. The Driss Do'Urden, publication history, The Legend of Drist. Here we go. So the first published thing was The Crystal Shard. It was written in 1988, which is a long... Wow, 1988. What is that, 20? 18 is 20.
Don't say it. Don't say it. I don't even want to know. That's when I graduated high school. I don't even want to know.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's a long time. I mean, to think about... that's our youth, so to speak, the 80s, right? I mean, I graduated high school in 1991. And, like, looking back at stuff that's now, like the same way someone in the 60s would look back at, like, The Hobbit written 30 years ago or whatever, you know?
So, now, I've heard of Icewind Dale, but you were saying the most I mean, for me, it's Weiss, Hickman, Dragonlance.
No, by sheer volume. Like, the early Dragonlance books sold a lot, but then when he started publishing the Driss stuff, it just exploded. Like, because eventually Weiss and Hickman had the dispute with TSR and Wizards of the Coast and all that, so they stopped writing. Then, like, who really owned their Dragonlance stories, and then they published some more, but because they were like not woke, they weren't publicized or whatever. Whereas R.A. Salvatore's owned Driss from the beginning and owned the rights to put Driss books out. So Wizards can't block him from writing in the Forgotten Realms setting because I think technically he's a part owner of the Forgotten Realms setting. I can't remember who started it. I know was it Zeb Cook? It's been so long since I read about like who did what. But so in any case, so he published The Crystal Shard, A Stream to Silver, and Halfling's Gem, which were playable modules, as I recall, as well. And they took off. And the people love the characters, especially Drist. He's a drow from the city Menzoberranzan, which is underground, obviously, like most drow cities. And he created a pretty. Eventually, he writes the Dark Elf trilogy, which is Drist's origin story. And Menzoberranzan, he creates a very bleak description of drow life, especially drow male life, where they have a limited number of sons. The second sons are almost always human sacrifices to Loth, their spider goddess. Even the females, they seem to be more daughters because they want the drow or female dominant society. Even like the daughters are like the matron of the family has the daughters like in death fights to see who will succeed her and all that. You know, it's a very very dark society. And Drist comes along and he's pure hearted, like he's powerful, and the mother knows that. She has a consort who's like a male slave who is his father, Zach Nefien, who's kind of like a neutral type character with good tendencies. But Drist is pure-hearted, right? And so eventually he leaves home, and we meet Drist in the Icewind Dale trilogy. We don't know much about him other than he's a ranger, and he worships, I believe the Forgotten Realms goddess at the time was called Meliki or Mekili, who's a good goddess. Icewind Dale. Technically, you're reading in the right order, Jaden. In other words, so, a lot of times authors write prequels, and you really need to read the prequel after the original material. Salvatore is a top level writer. He wrote his original. He wrote the prequel Dark Elf in such a way that you don't need to know the events of the Icewind Dale trilogy to understand Drift's journey. You know, so anyway, and so Drift goes through a story. Now I'll admit, there's a point when I got a little tired of the character, like, and I'm not gonna spoil this, Jaden, but there's a series of like Legacy that I like Legacy that okay, so I'll give it this way. I loved Icewind Dale trilogy. I loved Dark Elf trilogy. Legacy of the Drow. The books kind of blend in, but I liked it overall. I remember there's 4 books in it, and I remember liking one of them a lot, and the others were like okay. On the Paths of Darkness, which has some side stories, if I remember correctly, they were good. Cell Swords, I don't remember them that much. Hunter's Blade trilogy is the best. Like that's peak Drist. Okay, the Thousand Orcs. It's the Drist book. I haven't read these in years, and I'm getting tempted to get, but I don't want to reread the whole damn series. But the Thousand Orcs is the Drist book I've read the most. Okay, it encapsulates a lot of everything that you all the aspects of Drist. A lot.
AFK 5 minutes.
Okay, so that's fine, bro. So it encapsulates a lot of everything Drist has been leading to there, and that the Hunter's Blades trilogy was awesome. It's the best trilogy of all the ones in the series. Now afterwards, there's a lot more story that happens because he has side stories with Drist companions like oh god, my brain is locking. Wolfgar, not Wolfgar. Oops, I hit the wrong browser. Let's put this thing over here. Here, let's go back. Legends of Drist. Drist. So Katibri, Wolfgar, basically Regis the Halfling, and Brunor the Dwarf. There are side novels and stories about those characters as well. And I don't know if you know, catching it, Jane. I'm going to make it bigger so you can see. You can get single book collector's editions of a lot of the trilogies now. So if you see down here. Oh, that's true, Jaden. See, Jaden, it does add a lot of context to it that you'll have going into But Salvatore is a top level writer. He's an excellent writer that you don't, how to put it, you didn't need, you didn't need, like I said, you don't need to read the current to understand the past, so to speak. You know, how to put it. If my cousin Michael comes on here, he's probably as conversant with this series as I am. This is one of the book series we've read over the years. He's probably read more of it than I have that we both love. But how do I put it? So the only thing to take into account when you get to this trilogy, so to speak, the Icewind Dale trilogy, is he never went back and rewrote it to change a couple of details for events he put into Drist. They're nothing big, just some behavioral things that, but it's nothing big deal. I mean, if you love Dark Elf, you love Icewind Dale, and just get yourself to the Hunter's Blade trilogy, Drayden, and just get there because it's worth the payoff, you know. Now the other stuff like the Underling, let's see what they're talking about with that. Let's learn together, Jaden, because that might be referring to something. Hey, I'm going with Jaden and I are exploring the Dark Elf stuff. Salvatore, the Underling. Okay, Forgotten Realms series by R.A. Salvatore. Okay, so the site you'll see on your screen now is called Goodreads. It's a pretty good website for finding books and lists of books and things like that, like what's in what series and so forth. Yeah. I think if I remember, now I have a different like Streams of Silver here. I remember as a module when I played these modules, if I'm remembering correctly, that was my favorite of those to play as a player. You know. Yeah, there's a lot. This is a Goodreads is a good site for this stuff. You know. So. Okay. So Jaden, we can come back to the Dark Elf since we're going now. And I got Mike here. Um, uh, let's talk about what I consider the news of the day. Right. The fact that Man of Steel 2 is in development, and the reason it's in development. So.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah. So actually, let me put all of the articles there. Because the man who did it is the man who got it done, so to speak. The Rock is the one who got the Man of Steel being made. Because this guy, and we have a name now of who's stopping Man of Steel. I'm calling all of them up into Firefox and we'll flip around. Okay. So apparently this guy, Walter Hamada, who was I guess the CEO or something at Warner before the takeover and the merge and all that, he was the one blocking a Man of Steel 2 movie, and specifically Henry Cavill as Superman for some reason. Apparently, he didn't look at all the money that Henry Cavill's Superman films have made over the years. I don't know. I mean, I did a video on it, which I guess I could share out if I could find it fast enough, or I'll put it in the link below, where I analyze the amount of money that Henry Cavill has made as a character in movies. Like, it's trillions of dollars of profit that every movie he's in, almost everyone makes profit. You know what I mean, Mike? Like, it's not like, yeah, even the average movies, for some reason, make a profit, right? And the guy is a born movie star. He has the look, he has the temperament. You know, he's almost he reminds me of a throwback to Gary Cooper. Some of you younger folk might not know who Gary Cooper is. He's I will call him up so people can see. He is. If I listed my top 50 favorite movies, Gary Cooper has at least 2 of them in it. So this is Gary Cooper, right? And I will. And 2 of my all-time favorite movies. Well, 3 of them. High Noon is my grandfather, who I'm named after. That's his favorite movie. Is this big? Is this big enough on screen there, Mike? Should I make it a little bigger?
Well, I have to watch it on YouTube, so I'm in a delay. So I have to wait like 30 seconds to see it.
Okay, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, I should make it bigger. I'm gonna jack up the frame.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. That's one of the drawbacks of not using like a Restream or a StreamYard or whatever, is that I can't see what you're sharing.
Well, what I'll do is I'll watch back on the video and then keep a cue card and notes. So if I open a browser, I know to have it preset. Like I have a bunch of I have a Firefox preset, but it's preset to a size that I do when I do my recording. So I'll usually zoom in inside the browser to boost it. But to keep it, and then because I'm showing one particular page, right? But I'm flipping around, so now I want the whole thing to be big,
Sure.
So, Jaden Cooper, write this guy's name down. Okay, write his name down. He is one of the all-time great actors, like a legend. Like if you think of generational great actors, like there was Gary Cooper, then there was John Wayne, and then maybe there was like what's his place, Anthony Hopkins, and then we have we have a modern version of a generational actor. Not just a guy with Henry Cavill could be that guy. Like he has the physical charisma, the temperament. Like even when he's upset about something, he doesn't explode on the audience and the fans. He understands that he's making movies for people to be entertained by, that sort of thing. So Gary Cooper, the movies I watch every year, I watch Sergeant York, and Pride of the Yankees. Every year I watch those movies. They're just pure enjoyment to watch. Now Sergeant York is a semi-true. Well, the story there really was a Sergeant York, okay, but the movie is it's not as accurate as it could be in terms of historical accuracy. Sergeant York is the most decorated soldier of World War I. He's a Sergeant Alvin York, a legendary soldier, captured hundreds of enemy troops on his own, led his small squad, and all this. his story, we could do a whole show on just Sergeant York. He's that type of legendary soldier. And then Pride of the Yankees is about Lou Gehrig. Lou Gehrig, obviously, if you don't know who the Yankees are, you probably heard of Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS, right? And he was and Lou Gehrig in real life, Gary Cooper captured him perfectly on screen. Everyone said that when he filmed the movie. And there's a great speech by I'm going to try playing it and let's see if YouTube. Let's see, YouTube. Lou Gehrig speech. I think the speech might be in the public domain. So let's see. Now this should just play. Can you hear this, Mike?
No.
Yeah, he had the record for the most consecutive games played until Cal Ripken broke it. And the echo's in the recording, not me.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. When you look around, wouldn't you consider it privilege to associate yourself with such a fine-looking man as is standing in uniform in this ballpark today?
Yeah, the speech is longer. I'm not gonna, go. I probably want to get a copyright claim over it, but it's not a big deal. I'm not monetized. But anyway, so Lou Gehrig, his health was. He might have, like Babe Ruth set a bunch of offensive records. Lou Gehrig might have surpassed some of those records had he played a full career, right? And but he was such a humble person. Not that I don't know Babe. Babe was his own personality, but he had to retire because ALS was making it harder and harder for him to play. And he wound up dying. I think I don't think he lived more than 3 or 4 years after he retired from baseball. It was kind of a sad story, but he was a gentleman and classy. And the Pride of the Yankees I guess if you're not a Yankees fan, it's not that big a deal. I can understand that, But the point is, back to Gary Cooper. Jaden, High Noon is an all-time classic Western. He played Wyatt Earp, obviously. For Whom the Bell Tolls, you see some of the limits on here. Scroll by. And let's see. Go here. Let's go to he started in the silent film era. I mean, I remember some of his silent movies. I just don't remember. It's been a long time. I mean, now I want to go watch Gary Cooper movies. He's one of those actors I grew up with my family, my grandpa with High Noon and all that. And man, it's just I guess it's a nostalgia thing. When you get a certain age, right, you look back at stuff when you were a kid, and you know what I mean. Like you miss it. You want to go back to it, so to speak. Yeah, I don't know. Anywho, so where was I? So anyway, Man of Steel 2. This movie should have been made. I mean, and you got to blame Zack Snyder for this because he just. Okay. So Man of Steel happened because what was supposed to happen is, what's his face from Batman Begins, Nolan. He had made a sort of verbal deal and begun signing the contracts that he was going to make a DCEU based on Christian Bale Batman and Henry Cavill, and he was going to produce, like oversee, the Superman film. And because Nolan has a huge team of people, like it's like Peter Jackson. When they do a project, this whole crew goes with them, right? So Nolan was gonna I should check my DMs just in case someone wants to pop on. Okay, that was just you. Okay. So anyway, Nolan has a team of people, and Zack Snyder was on his team of people, so to speak, and he was getting set to do after the Batman. And this is not, some of this is rumor, obviously, but as he was filming the third Batman film with Christian Bale, he was prepping to do the Superman film. And the idea was that Batman would retire at the end of the Batman trilogy and be a mentor figure for Clark Kent as he was traveling. He would meet Bruce and Bruce would be tracking him because of the powers, obviously. That element carried over into the films, if you remember right, in Zack, where Batman was tracking all the superpowered people. And seeing what this guy was about, and because he was helping people, even though he had all these powers and whatever. And then Superman would emerge, and then that would inspire eventually Bruce to come back to some extent as Batman, but not so much as the Dark Knight in Gotham, more as the detective. You know, the older guy who puts his mind on powers and all that, you know, to solve crimes. And that would lead to, well, there would be Man of Steel, then there will be maybe another Batman film, then there will be Superman, Batman, or World's Finest. That was what was rumored at the time. Then for some reason, Chris, and if you remember reading about the third Batman film, what do you call it? Nolan changed the whole storyline of that Batman film such that Batman could not likely come back from that. And then he and Christian Bale bailed on the character completely. They said, we're done with this. We're not making any more movies. Blah blah blah. So all that was left. Well, and then Zack Snyder said, I'll do the Superman movie. You know, so he went and did Man of Steel, and it was popular. And so then they said to him they wanted DCU, so Marvel doing it, and they were demanding a DCEU right away, not seeing that the work that Marvel put in to put all that out, right? You remember how they based on Hulk and then Iron Man. You kind of remember that there, Mike? The whole sequence, how they made like 4 or 5 movies building towards the Avengers. You know, they were like, no, we want the Justice League right away. The DC was demanding because they had no concept of how to use these characters or build and whatnot. So Zack Snyder, who's a very grim, dark sort of storyteller, took the DCEU in a very dark direction, and that's what. And most of us dislike Superman, Batman, Dawn of Justice, and we disliked either version of the Justice League movie. A lot of us kind of mix on Aquaman. I like Aquaman a lot, the visuals and Momoa, the storytelling, and Amber Heard. I mean, aside from the fact she's hot as hell, in that role as Mira, she almost stole the film. She was really good as it, you know, as Mira in that movie. And the first Wonder Woman film was very good, and so there was some good aspects of the DCEU, and there were some bad ones like the Zack Snyder's 2 movies, and so forth, and then obviously we know about the floundering hell, and then all the woke stuff came in and then this guy Hameda apparently was blocking a Man of Steel 2 or any Superman film with Cavill. Now fast forward to David Zaslav comes over, and the rumor is he has scrapped the DCEU itself, meaning that storyline, and said, I want a Wonder Woman, a Batman, and a Superman film, and that's the only films I'm paying for that's not currently in production. I'm canceling everything else. Like he canceled Batgirl. He wants to cancel The Flash, but there's a lot of money involved with that one already. Like Batgirl got a huge tax write-off for them because they canceled it and destroyed the film, whereas Flash, they can't really do that with. They get the tax write-off. So he said, I'm only going to fund a Superman film, which has to have Henry Cavill or no one, a Batman film, and that's when Ben Affleck has been talks to reprise Batman in that role, because even though the Batman movie did well, that the director there doesn't want to do a shared universe Batman. So that film, like the Joker movie, they'll have their separate sequels, but they're not going to be as heavily funded as the big sequels that Zaslav wants. And he's happy with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, but he does not want the woke stuff, like which is in Wonder Woman 1984. And he said to people, I mean, I can't do all these projects, but I'm telling you what I'm willing to fund and what I'm not. And The Rock has been campaigning because The Rock is like Cavill. He's obviously a little more left leaning politically. He's like, he wants to be true to these characters, right? Like he doesn't want to take he doesn't want to make. They tried to make him make Shazam, the Captain Marvel, a black guy in the film. He refused. He already said that's not the character. I'm playing Black Adam. I'm not playing Captain Marvel. Black Adam is actually an Egyptian dark skinned guy. I'm playing Black Adam. You know, so that's where the Black Adam film is coming from. And The Rock has been wanting Cavill as Superman because Black Adam is an anti-hero. Like he's villainous, but he's not like evil. I don't think they're going to do the storyline in the comics that made him an irredeemable character where he mass murdered millions of people, men, women, children, because this was something DC did that was really, really, really stupid. The arc was called World War III. Black Adam had become ruler of a country called Kandak, which he was kind of like the Doctor Doom of Kahndaq, like he was a paradise. The same way Laturvy is a paradise for Laturvians, because Doctor Doom's a great leader for his home country. And something happened with a neighboring country, Bialia, whatever, another fake Middle Eastern nation, like murdered his wife and family and killed the people of Kahndaq. So Black Adam went World War III and was just mass killing people in that storyline. He killed all the people of that Bialia nation, every last man, woman, and child, and it was going around the world killing other people. And then for some stupid reason, okay, hey Zax, how you doing, buddy? 50. Oh yeah, that's cool. I'm up to 50. I got one since the stream started. Zax, if you want to pop on, let me know. DM me. Because I'm going to do my origin story after we're done talking about Superman, and you're involved in that. So anyway, in the World War III storyline, it was a horrible comic. It came out. They did Infinite Crisis and then Final Crisis, and then rebooted with the New 52 and all that. And they had Superman, Clark Kent, Wonder Woman, and Batman for reasons take a year off as characters. Okay, and the logic was they wanted to let Clark Kent was still active as Clark Kent, but he lost his power as Superman for a storyline reason that was stupid. But Batman was in another dimension. They thought Bruce Wayne was dead, and Wonder Woman was trying to become a world leader for peace as opposed to war, right? So Superman gets his powers back, right? At some point during all this, okay? And they did a storyline where Black Adam was going on World War III, doing all this killing, and instead of sending, first of all, they made him irredeemable without a reboot, because you can't come back from mass murdering that many people. You're in Thanos territory. No matter whatever good you do, you're just a gone character. You know what I mean, Mike? Like there's no coming back from that level of infamy. Yeah. You have to be a villain, basically. So, in the middle of all that, they decide instead of the most powerful heroes like Alan Scott, the original Green Lantern, who could have literally like effortlessly stopped him, Superman, who has proven to be able to destroy Black Adam and those versions of the comics, to be able to stop him. Well, Wonder Woman, who was at least his equal to be able to deal with him, the Martian Manhunter, who could have been able to stop him. All these powerful characters, instead of going to stop him from doing more and more mass murder, they were going around cleaning up behind him and helping civilians out of buildings. And they send the Teen Titans, who don't even have Superboy on, who for some reason Superboy isn't with the team, and he literally murders like we were saying, like there was a character named Tara who he literally rips her arm off and beats her to death with it. It's a horrible miniseries. It's almost as bad as the Amazons Attack miniseries that they did the same thing with the Amazons from Wonder Woman's people, and so they're clearly not going to do that with Black Adam here. Okay. They're going to keep him, I believe, the anti-hero in the film The Rock is doing, where he's not going to obey laws, like he's probably going to kill people and whatever, but he's not going to be evil like Black Adam had to become after the arc. So he's going to be kind of an anti-hero type.
Right.
And The Rock wants Superman, Henry Cavill, to sort of face off with him, right? To be the guy who stops him, so to speak, from going over the edge type of thing, because he's powerful. And The Rock, in light of all this, The Rock has a lot of power in Hollywood. He's been campaigning for years to get the control of the DCEU because he hates the way it went with the whole darkness and all that. Like he wants some dark character, he wants some good character. Like Superman should be a light character, you know what I mean, not a dark character. So the word now is that Zavlov, that guy, he's receptive to The Rock's offer. Okay, and that's why this whole thing with the Man of Steel 2 is coming about. The Rock's influence got it done, so to speak. So now here, this other article from Cosmic Book News. The DCEU now has a Phase 1, according to The Rock. So Black Adam's going to launch a new era for. That's what this whole bit. I'll do a separate video with all this stuff, but and The Rock is. The Rock has we haven't seen him be an actor per se, so we can't put The Rock on the level of that Cavill could be on, because Cavill could act. He has all the physical charisma in the world, but Cavill can act, unlike a lot of other people. And The Rock has a lot of the same physical charisma, presence, and all that, but we haven't seen The Rock act yet in a film. Like do a film where he's not just being Vin Diesel with, but not the dark version of Vin Diesel. You know, Vin Diesel and The Rock are similar in that regard. So I think The Rock will eventually do like maybe a romantic comedy or a serious film or something that shows he has acting chops, because he's one of the best pro wrestlers of all time. And here's a secret to people: most top level pro wrestlers are actually pretty good actors. It's like
Yeah.
you have to be to put on the performances they do.
100%.
Yeah. So I think okay, if they really give it to The Rock to control, I think we'll have an actual decent series of DC films. Henry Kills Superman. Like they'll have maybe Affleck will come back. The one I know I'm skipping around, but the one scene you should watch in either version of Justice League, Batman almost steals the movie. There's a point in the movie where Batman tries to sacrifice himself to save everyone, and he goes on this awesome run in the Batmobile. And between how they edited it and how Affleck performed in that role, that's the one part of those of that Justice League movie that I will watch over and over again is Batman's like run to lure the parademons away. I don't know if you've ever seen either version of it there, Mike, but it's like, just like I said to you, the young Conan clip, like the rest of that movie is horrible, but young Conan just rocks it. You know what I mean? That kid just like, they should have said, wait a minute, let's stop filming here, let this kid grow up, and then film the rest of the film with him as Conan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I'm not blaming Momoa, because I like Momoa as an actor. He's a pretty good physical actor. But that kid stole the movie.
Good within limits. If you put big strict limits on him, he's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yep.
So for example, in Stargate Atlantis, he had to play a very limited character. He didn't get to emote a lot. His lines were almost zero, like 2 or 3 words. Yeah, he's great.
He's like Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Although Schwarzenegger turned into a pretty decent actor as he got older. Like there was that film he did with what was it called? Was in a zombie apocalypse, and you'd think it would have been Schwarzenegger gunning people down, but it wasn't. It was him dealing with the fact that his daughter was slowly turning into a zombie, and he was being a father to his daughter as she converted. It got a lot of. It came, I think, in the early COVID era, so it didn't get a lot of play. But as far as and it wasn't a great movie, but it was actually a very good performance as an acting point of view by Schwarzenegger. Not to say that Schwarzenegger is an Oscar level actor, but it was surprisingly good. It was like it's like when Robin Williams came out of nowhere with like Good Will Hunting and all, or whatever, that when he first started acting.
Yeah.
100%. So
yeah.
yeah.
Gotcha.
But anywho, back to here. So that one little sequence with Ben Affleck in the Batmobile, and when he goes on his run, that's worth watching from that. But a lot of like bad films always have that. That's good. Matter of fact, I should do a whole. I don't know.
Affleck.
Huh?
Ben Affleck, like the commercial for the
Yeah,
insurance.
yeah. I call him Bat Flack.
Affleck.
Yeah.
Affleck.
Yeah. Yeah. I always call him that. It's kind of funny. But because I used to call him Ben Can Act. Because his first couple of films like Clerks and all those early films, he was a horrible actor. People need to go back and watch it. Like something happened to him when after I decided he couldn't act. And then I used to have names for a whole bunch of guys who I didn't think could act when they were younger. Ben can act. Leonardo DiCaprio. I call him DiCaprio. The DiCaprio is an old joke from. My cousin Michael will remember this. The DiCaprio was like a frisbee game from a online gaming magazine, and it's an in joke. But I called Leonardo DiCaprio because to me it was like he was cutting his head off on every performance because he just couldn't act when he was younger. Now he turned into a pretty good actor as he got older. I'll give him credit for that, But there are a couple other people like that, and then I checked out on them for quite a while, and I come back and I find that DiCaprio and Affleck can actually act, and I was like, they must have learned somewhere, But what was I saying? So anyway, I think DC, because the Batman and the Joker have proved commercially successful, they'll get their universe only sequels, and I'm fine with that. I think there's a big enough market that you can have multiple Batman running and multiple Superman films running, as long as they're not competing against one another, but I think we'll see either Affleck or another guy become the DCEU Batman. I really would like them to go an older Batman, like Affleck in his 50s, because I don't want to see action hero Batman. I want to see the detective, but I want to see a physical. I want to see, like when I watched the Batman, I found it boring because it was could have been edited down a little bit. Oh yeah, Jaden. Yeah. He's a mess. He's a big time lefty. Jaden. Sorry, I missed that there. You know. The Rock is clearly a liberal type, like Jaden. He's not. I don't know if he's a woketista, but he is a liberal. In other words, he's one of those. At the very least, he's one of the old school Democrats who help the poor type of stuff. You know, like I wouldn't say he's woke per se. You know,
classically liberal.
Yeah. Hey, Lady Beat, welcome to the stream. Thank you for the welcome to the viewing of the stream, I should say. Again, Lady B, if you want to pop on, let me know. I'll give you my Discord. So The Rock, I unlike our friend Adam there, Mike, I can differentiate between most of their political personas and their you know what I mean? Like I could check my brain off. You know what I'm saying? To a lot of like there's a lot of books I've read like God, how many of the authors of the books we know they're lefties, but you know what I mean? But they're still good books. I could check my brain off and say, in real life this guy's a putz, but the book was good or the movie was good or whatever. You know. And same thing with The Rock. The Rock's movies like.
It really depends on how vocal they're going to be about it, right? If I just know that they're, let's say, further to the left than is reasonable, then I can ignore it. But if they get up on stage, like De Niro does, or Susan Sarandon, or any of those, and they run their mouths during their Golden Globes and Oscar acceptance speeches, they just can't seem to shut their mouths, then that turns me off. Well, I'll never watch another De Niro movie as long as I live. I'm just done with that guy.
I can do it, like as long as it's not in their movies, you know. Well, Susan Sarandon, it's in her movies. You know what I mean?
But I want them to feel like they're, it's the get woke go broke thing. I want them to feel. Well, I mean, obviously, my $10 at the movies is not going to be missed. But if everybody gets together and we all don't give them the money, then when casting comes around and they say, "Well, last time we hired this person," and they went on Twitter and they ran their mouth. The movie bombed. And at the same time, this other movie where the person didn't run their mouths did really well. Let's hire the other person. That's what I want to happen. That's why I just, when Tom Hanks started running his mouth, I was done with Tom Hanks.
I kind of agree with you. I'm just a little more to the point where I don't care what, like if they keep it out of their movies. Like I'm not saying if they do a movie that is intended to be left leaning, I'm okay with that because that's the movie is about being left stuff. You know what I mean? Where if they go and
point, I just disagree.
No. You and I have talked about you and I have talked about. I'm explaining to the audience here. Like my point of view on this, guys, is that I'm willing to accept that there are people who have the woke viewpoint as long as they leave us alone. If they want to make woke content for themselves, or like in the CW superhero shows, the first couple of seasons, they all had their little bit of woke content in there, but they also had regular superhero content, and it was like we all got what we wanted out of it,
Sure, yeah.
And then the wokeness just took it over. Like you could see, like creeping wokeism for every season of those shows, especially one Stephen Amell, who was kind of controlling that, even though he wasn't because of the Arrowverse. He was, for whatever reason, he had power over it that the other actors didn't. He kept a lot of the woke out of his show until he was done, like until after the 5th season when the original arc finished, and then they started using his show as pilots, and eventually they started featuring other characters, and the woke crept in, and Amell basically jumped out of the whole Arrowverse once they did the Crisis character, and he made it in such a way with the Crisis storyline that they could not possibly bring him back. Like he had the storyline written in such a way that he cannot possibly ever return as a character, Yeah. So, I mean, I'm libertarian enough to think that if you put your, and the internet's big enough that there could be a woke corner of the internet, that the woke people can have their woke stories and whatever, and people who are anti-woke, like I'm not anti-woke either. I'm not one of those like wokeism to me is a function of Marxism. Okay, so the opposite of that would be the pure like free, like pure unregulated capitalist, anything goes, sink or swim. I'm not one of those either, because you need to have, according to free market economics, which is the real system we should be using, and what made us successful, you need to have a well and properly regulated economy. Not too much, not too little. Like, enforce it, everyone gets a shot at it, and then they should see on their own merits type of thing. Because you don't want cutthroat capitalism, because what cutthroat capitalism does is it creates resentment by the masses type of thing. You gotta have, you gotta find just the right balance between just enough making sure the people at the bottom have a safety net, but not so much that it becomes a crutch, as far as economics go. And these woke people, they don't want that. They want there to be, they want to turn the safety net into a capture net that catches everyone, that traps everyone in it, and anyway, to get back to hobbies here, like political politics relates. I can live with my view, guys. Again, Mike and I have talked. We know each other's viewpoint on this. I'm just saying, for you guys, I can live with people having their woke viewpoints and whatever, and having specifically woke content. The world's a big enough place. It's when they impose that crap on all of us that I get outraged, because that offends me from my libertarian point of view. It offends me. You shouldn't be imposing your viewpoint on anyone in that sense. As long as you should be able to live and let live. It should be the operating credo for our society. But back to here. So hopefully, with The Rock taking it over, if they'll give him control, and Zavalov is not taking any of this woke crap anymore, Warner will be productive about this. So, and the other hope for this, and this is the bigger hope, okay, this is more sign that Zavalov wants to make money and have content that people enjoy, right? Now, the full Lord of the Rings license has reverted to that company that bought them, with the funny name, Embracer, whatever it is.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So all that Warner has left now is the animated license for the movie they're doing, the Rise of the Rohirrim. But the hope is that Warner will get its money straightened out sooner rather than, because that is the reason the reason Warner got sold to Discovery and was been on for a while is there's a huge chunk of debt that goes with Warner, and Zavalov jumped on it because he felt, I'm getting all the content, I'm getting all this stuff, I can make money, and he's gambling that he can get itself sooner, because there's a lot of properties in there but the reason he's harped down to 3 big superhero films in the next 5 or 6 years is because there's a limited budget for this stuff right now with the way it's collapsed. And the hope is that Warner gets his stuff together, and that between the Tolkien estate and Embracer, if they do any more Lord of the Rings stuff, at least my hope is that Warner will say, "Look, give us another chance. We got our shit together. Let's just do a movie, Maybe we'll do an end of the War of Wrath." So I don't know. I'm just saying. Yeah. Because I don't want Amazon. And we'll segue into the Rings of Prime now. It's like good segue. So, Lord of the Rings to me, and this will lead into my origin as a YouTuber right after this, because this leads into Wheel of Time as well. To me, Lord of the Rings, and I've said this in parts before, but my childhood was not a very pleasant one. My family wasn't really ready for me. My father, I didn't find who my father was until I was like 44 years old or whatever, with a DNA test, and I had emotional issues and physical abuse issues and all sorts of stuff going on, right? And one day, one of my relatives locked me in a room as a punishment. And it wasn't like a dungeon room; it was a bedroom, but it was excessive punishment. They would just put me in there anytime they thought I would be bad. And I have I'm kind of like Naruto. I'm very hyper, and I learned to manage it. I've been told I would have been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder as a child. I had that, they just did back then, and I needed something like boredom was a bigger punishment to me than anything else, So I found this shelf of books in the room, and on that this dusty shelf that hadn't been touched for a couple of years was The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, 2 of H.G. Wells' books, one of Ursula K. Le Guin's books, 1 or 2 other, I think Dune was on there. It was like a small shelf with science fiction and fantasy books. And I happened to read The Fellowship of the Ring first, and Lord of the Rings became my sort of emotional crutch. I mean, it's not now I just appreciate it, but it was I slept with the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit and eventually Silmarillion in my bed from when I was like, I don't know, 5 until I was like 15 or 16 years old. I had it on the edge of my bed, just anytime I would get depressed, I'd pull out and just read it. That's why I said I've read Lord of the Rings over 150 times, because I would just read over and over again as a mental release. I enjoyed it, but like I said, it's inbuilt into who I am. So when I get to the Rings of Prime, and actually before I get to Rings of Prime, as a Tolkien, almost a purist, I can break down the Peter Jackson films, and there's a lot of stuff in there that I personally wasn't happy with. Okay, for example, Narsil. Aragorn, from the moment Elrond finished training him, because unlike movie Elrond, book Elrond was a mentor and a father to Aragorn. He adopted him as a child because Sauron's forces had been hunting for Aragorn and his family for decades among the Rangers of the North, who were the survivors of the Kings of Arnor, the royal families of Arnor. They sent baby Aragorn to Rivendell, and Elrond raised him like his own son, and he taught him everything, basically. And when he became capable of traveling, become a warrior, and taking the lead of the Rangers, he carried Narsil around with him like all the other heirs to Isildur did. And Aragorn had Narsil with him at all times. And Narsil was reforged during the when they had the Council of Elrond. That's when Narsil was reforged in Anduril, and Aragorn carried it. That's the sword he fought with for the rest of the books. So they changed that whole sequence in the movies. Okay, didn't like that. Didn't like the changes to Elrond's personality. Elrond loved Aragorn as a child. He was happy. He was happy that Arwen was going to marry Aragorn. The reason he said to wait in the books was, one, because elves do not get married in times of war. It's a cultural thing with them. And two, he was like, look, it's possible we may lose this thing. Once you marry Aragorn, you've chosen the mortal path. You have to stay here. You can't go. You can't escape the Undying Lands with the rest of us. If wait and see if we win the war. If Aragorn dies, then you still have a choice. That was the only point of telling Arwen to wait. He wanted them to be married because he's perfectly happy with the choice of the half-elven to be mortal. And Elrond's a great guy. He's closer to Jesus before Jesus came. That's the way. That's one of the ways Tolkien describes Elrond. So the movies changed to make Elrond darker and all that.
Elrond's half-elf, and then his daughter would three-quarter elf.
No, the way the half-elven is a title. Okay, so going back to the first age, right?
Not a genetic lineage.
Correct. Elves. Yeah. Okay. Elves and humans are the same thing biologically. Okay, the difference is spiritually. Tolkien, the seen world, the physical world, elves are just perfected humans. They have no bad traits, so to speak. You know what I mean? They're all like elves can't be fat. They have perfect metabolisms. You know.
No. We've been through that.
Yeah.
I was just wondering.
Yeah. So half.
Whatever Aragorn is, he's lesser than elves still.
He's a man of Numenor. So what happens with the half-elven is this, okay? As a reward for Eärendil, for several things happening, keep it short. The other thing is the union of man and elf, okay? Elves and humans there's nothing condemned about it. There's nothing bad about it. It's perfectly acceptable from morally, from the point of view, Tolkien's structural point of view. But for Eru made it so that elves and humans don't find each other attractive on most of the time. They just don't feel like, because elves are immortal, and it's like a, you know what I mean? They just don't instinctively find one another attractive. Even though they recognize the beauty, they don't date or marry or whatever. However, rare times they did. And that presented a problem because the child is born as an elf almost always, but some of them want to remain human. So as a reward, some of them were given the choice of the half-elven. If an elf marries a human and they're of a certain lineage, right? Although he later amended they don't have to be of the lineage, the choice of the word, or any elf-human hybrid, you can choose, the first generation can choose, you can choose to take the fate of the elves, which is to remain immortal in Arda, the universe, until the end of time, or the fate of humanity, which is basically Catholicism, like you die, you go to heaven, and all that sort of stuff, you know. And once the choice is made, the choice of the half-elven leaves the human path, so to speak, because you're now human. but an elf who has that choice, like Elrond, he can pass that choice on to his daughter, who's an elf, right? So Arwen had to make the choice of the half elven with Aragorn, right? But let's say Arwen had married an elf. Her children would have the same choice. In other words, the ability to choose to be a human remains as a gift to that lineage. It's an honor. It's literally an honor by Manwë and Eru Uvatar to that lineage. You know, so. And Aragorn is descended from Elrond's brother, Elros, who chose to be a human and found Numenor, so to speak. You know. Yeah. But it's very. I mean, I'm going to do some videos, my lore videos. I have them lined up. One's going to be about the Parrot Hell. They have Elven. Another one will eventually be about Elrond's lineage and Aragorn's lineage. Like simplified lore videos to show how all this stuff relates and whatever. You know. But anyway, back to move the Rings of Prime. Jaden Aragorn was somewhere around 81 or 85 at the beginning of Lord of the Rings. Okay. Young for him, he was like 25 when he first realized he liked Arwen, and it didn't kind of work out for a while. And he lived into his hundreds. I honestly don't remember how. I want to say it was. Well, let's find out. Okay, because Aragorn lifespan. He died. He was 210 years old when he died. He was the king of Gondor and Arnor for 122 years. So there we go. So which made sense because he had some of the old lineage of the Númenóreans. He was trueborn, but by then it had only become about 200 years. Whereas the fuller-blooded Númenóreans, when they were true and older, was more than that, like 300-400 years. That makes sense. Okay. Although all the Fourth Age stuff was open to readaptation, Jaden Tolkien, he was always working on everything constantly, but he did have an idea for some Fourth Age stuff to put out, but he never lived long enough to work well on it. Anyway, so back to Rings of Prime, right? This show, I mean, the most offensive episode is episode 5, when they reveal that the elves' souls were dying, which is canonically impossible in Lord of the Rings. You can watch my lore video to get the whole explanation, people. But basically, Evil Uvatar is the Judeo-Christian god. He's the only one with power over souls. Souls cannot ever die. It's the way souls work. So that was the most offensive episode to me. I literally say in my video that they dug up Tolkien's grave, opened up his coffin, and used it as a toilet bowl when they made that episode. Then there's all the stupid changes, like the Three Rings. Did you watch the episode, Mike?
Three Rings?
Did you watch the last episode of?
No. I have not watched it in a while.
Oh, okay. So you just don't. Okay, so you don't care if I spoil it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't
So,
care.
Arwen. She's a bit older than that. Arwen age. She's quite a bit older than that, if I remember correctly. Arwen. Oh, there you go. So, okay, it's in the appendices. Okay, there we go. Yeah, she's a bit older than him there, Jaden. I know it was over 2,000 years, but I wasn't sure exactly. 2,901 years. Pepsi, if you're out there, I'll take that sponsorship for Diet Pepsi someday when you're ready. Man, my throat goes so bad with the last 10 or 15 years. I have to constantly, when I'm talking, drink stuff. Otherwise, my throat just dies.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where was I? So Rings of Prime, last episode. It's about the forging of the 3 elven rings of power, right? The last episode, right? In the canon, and this is in my video, in the canon, it took at least 100 years to forge the rings. 100 years. They forged the 3 elven rings in 3 weeks. Okay? They made the 3 elven rings last, and what happened in canon was Sauron, they forged the 16, which is the 7 for dwarves and 9 for men, and Sauron went to Mordor because he was going to make the one ring. The original rings weren't, even though they became 7 for dwarves and 9 for men, anyone could use the rings of power. They're not limited in that sense. So there were just going to be 16 rings for elves. Because Sauron wanted to enslave the elves as his minions for power, right? So he goes to Mount Doom to forge the One Ring, and Celebrimbor says, "I'm going to make 3 more of these damn things." So he makes the 3 elven rings, which are different than the other rings, in the sense that whereas the other rings are land more towards martial might, the 3 elven rings are more about preserving. They enhance and preserve stuff. Okay, because he wanted to preserve the decaying world. Go ahead.
Okay. No, I was just gonna say I know Galadriel's is the water ring.
Yeah, so I'll get there. So Celebrimbor finished the rings, and he and 2 of his smith buddies put the rings on. Now, Sauron had nothing directly to do with those rings, okay? And he didn't touch anything. And the reason that's important is because of the unseen world and the concept of the darkness with a capital D. Melkor / Morgoth and Sauron, one of their powers from the unseen world aspect of their powers is they're constantly exerting the darkness, their foul presence on the world that corrupts the world around them. Morgoth was the great darkness, and Sauron was the darkness. And whenever you hear that someone says, like Gandalf says, "Return to the shadow," you remember all that stuff. The shadow is the effect of Sauron and Morgoth's darkness on the world. Okay, so if Sauron had been there when the 3 were made, they would have fallen under his shadow, his taint, right? So that's in the lore. So because of that, they weren't tainted by his shadow, his presence in the unseen world, Celebrimbor and the other 2 elves literally sent Sauron forged into One Ring. And as he was about to cast the final spell that bound it, they were able to remove the rings from their hands and not become enslaved to him, or I should say, contest him in wills, and then thereby he would enslave them. Because Celebrimbor at the least will be powerful enough to contest with Sauron in wills and possibly remove the ring afterwards, right? So after that, he goes to Galadriel, who Sauron had spent 300 years sowing dissent between Galadriel and Celeborn with Celebrimbor, to the point that Galadriel, and there's different versions of this in the lore. There's a couple different versions of the storyline, guys. I know that. There was a 4th age on Middle Earth, Jaden, and I'll get there in a minute. So Galadriel and Celeborn, he had sowed so much dissent, Sauron had, between them and Celebrimbor, that they actually fled Eregion. And Celebrimbor took over Eregion as the lord of it, even though he kind of was the de facto lord of it, because Galadriel and Celeborn were traveling around in Eregion. And eventually he went back and he made up with Galadriel and said, "Look, you're very wise. What do I do with these rings? We know Sauron's coming for them." Because Sauron was so enraged by the 3 rings and the fact the elves could take them off, he decided he's going to destroy Eregion. He's going to kill. He's going to go on a campaign of mass murdering, stomping, and all that. And Galadriel says, "Look, we have to put these in hiding and give them to powerful people." And so Celebrimbor gives Nenya the ring of water. He sends Vilya the ring of Narya the ring of fire and Vilya the ring of air to Gil-galad, the High King. Gil-galad keeps the ring of air for himself and sends Narya, the most powerful one, to Círdan the shipwright. So the 3 most powerful elves have the 3 rings, right? And that's kind of how it happened. Then the war happened where Sauron, this is called the War of the Elves and Sauron. Sauron eventually conquered most of Eregion, captured Celebrimbor, he tortured him to get he got the 9 rings right away. Tortured him finally to get the 7 rings, though there's like a version where one of the rings was given to Durin the 4th before Sauron got there. But Celebrimbor would not break under torture, even though he was tortured for 2 years. He would not tell him where the elven rings were. And then eventually he tortures Celebrimbor to death and makes an effigy of him in front of his armies. That to me would have been a great TV show series, on its own, right? So what happened in this crap show is Sauron is literally there during the forging of the 3 rings. Because, Halbrand is Sauron, and Sauron, he's literally helping forge them. Which is the entire opposite of what happened in the show. Entire opposite. Okay? In the lore. To such an extent that the elven rings are no longer special. Right? It was so stupid that the way they changed. They changed stuff for stupid reasons in this show. Yeah. Jaden, the 4th age did happen in Middle Earth. That's when, and then the 5th age, you gotta remember, Jaden, that Tolkien's Legendarium occurs in a fictional version of our real world. Like right now, in our real world, Depending, I think Tolkien considered the sixth age possibly to have ended with World War One or two. We're in the sixth or seventh age, right? Of Middle Earth. Middle Earth is the Earth basically, you know. So the fourth age happened. Tolkien had some stuff about the new shadow, because even though Sauron was dispersed until he'll only return when he has to build forces for the end of time in the final battle of Armageddon, because he's the one who prepares for Melkor's return for the battle of Armageddon, right? So he'll eventually regain power in that regard, right? But the darkness that Morgoth and Sauron put onto the earth is still there, right? So humankind is still dealing with it. That's, in Tolkien terms, that's what happened when the next step for that process was when Uvatar / Yahweh sent Jesus, and that whole cycle happened, you know. So the darkness is basically original sin, if you want to think of it that way. But this shit show with Rings of Prime, and now they're gonna do a second season, and we have the second season of Wheel of Time coming up, right? With
No second season. We're done.
well, Rings of Prime, I should say. There wasn't even a first season of Wheel of Time. There was Rings of Prime, Prime, and Wheel of Prime, right? So that is how, and we're now doing my origin. We've been talking for an hour. So here's how I got into this whole mess. Okay, so a long time ago, I started to notice, like, I'd kind of checked out because of physical health problems. I had this tumor and all that going on, and I was like just trying to get through my own thing, you know. And I just wanted entertainment. You know what I mean? I wanted to work my job, survive my medical conditions, try to get my life together, and have my entertainment be my release. You know what I mean? That's not what we ultimately got with all this woke crap. And I started to notice, like, so one of my favorite characters is Thor, right? So after leaving outside the comic book part of it, when the movies after they had, and from the comic side, I should say, I am a fan of Captain Marvel as she was depicted before Kelly Sue Crapconic got hold of her in the comics. Okay, you know, I really liked how she was depicted in the 2000s and in the 90s. Yeah, she had some horrible storylines, like that rapey one with where she kind of had her own child, like she had a child with her own son, so to speak, because he was a cosmic entity. I mean, sometimes I think comic book writers are like they spend too much time taking drugs and not enough time thinking, but. You know. So anyway, but I liked that she had become a feminine but powerful a real woman superhero, not like a fake feminine superhero. And so then they come with that Captain Marvel movie, which was atrocious. I mean, it was atrociously, like, it made the word atrocious look good. That's how bad that movie was. And I was like, okay, one off, no big deal. But then Faye started saying in the comments, you know, Kevin, that it turned out Faye was woke. And he was going to wokeify the whole thing, you know, and then Thor: Love and Blunder was announced, and that's when I said I'm done. I'm not paying to see my characters that I love be destroyed for the sake of wokeism, and so I kind of got red pilled at that point on Marvel. It took a lot longer to get black pilled on Disney. The final straws were when. And I know people out there, Doomcock, some people don't, some of his, there is, Jane, I am not enough of an expert on the Wheel of Time to say that's 100% true. I do know that there's that age structure is an homage to, is a bit of an homage to Tolkien. I remember seeing something about that, but don't quote me on that one. I would have to research that. I'd probably talk to Dane about that, because Dane would probably know more about that than I would. Anywho,
Time is in a far future.
that's true.
Yeah.
But he's saying the age structure that was an homage to Tolkien, like a continuation of Tolkien's ages. I read something about that many years ago that Jordan was thinking about when he made his age structure. Not that he's saying that Tolkien's Past of the Earth was in his setting, but that he said, oh, Tolkien had these ages, and I'm going to have ages that continue in that sense. You know what I mean? Like the structure was an homage to Tolkien's structure. I remember something about that, but not enough to say conclusively exactly what Jordan meant by it. You know, so where was I? Oh, so on my origin. So on and on. I'm not going to traipse this out. I started to notice more and more wokeism coming into stuff, and then the Wheel of Prime happened, and Now, Rosamund Pike is a pretty good actress overall, right? I knew she was a Wheel of Time fan, or claimed to be a Wheel of Time fan, because I can't say, back then I knew it, but now I can only say claims because she's clearly not a Wheel of Time fan if she did what she just did. But I knew, but the word was she was backing his project. She wanted to make a good adaptation of his books. I don't know enough there, Jaden, to say if they're friends or not. I know they had a breakup. Doomcock was doing Friday Night Tights, and he and I believe it was Ryan Cannell had an on-screen argument about something. And it got personal on Ryan's part because Ryan always gets personal. He's like, he does a lot of ad hominem in his stuff, in his diatribes. And Doomcock, took personal offense to that. And apparently that spilled over to his and Gary's working relationship because they stopped doing stuff together. I don't know if their personal relationship is affected or not. I don't know. I just know their working relationship ended at that point. Okay. You can probably go find clips of the streams from when it happened if you go looking for it. In any case, so Doomcock has a lot of rumors about Star Wars and whatever, many of which proved to be true. Okay, and he's had this whole concept of the Star Wars civil war between Kathleen Kennedy, who wants to shit all over it, and people who want to try to keep Lucas's vision going. So I had been red pilled and almost black pilled on the Marvel stuff, and then along comes the last the Last Jedi, right? And Luke is my favorite Star Wars character. Okay, it's Luke and then Mara Jade, and then after that you can debate. But Luke and Mara Jade are my two favorite Star Wars characters. And Last Jedi.
I'm not knowing who Mary Jade is. Who's Mary Jade?
Mara Jade in the EU, the old Star Wars EU, or
okay, yeah, I didn't read the EU. Okay.
Yeah, or real Star Wars, as Adam calls it. She was the Emperor's secret apprentice, basically. She was like his personal hitman. She was a powerful Force user. And you know how the Sith, they always have secret apprentices to push them and maybe replace the real ones and all that sort of thing.
Yes.
So, and after the Emperor died, because the Emperor, in as much as the Emperor could treat anyone else like a human being, he treated her kind of like a daughter, So she was upset that the Emperor, Luke had killed the Emperor. She didn't know that Vader had done it, and so she was trying to murder Luke. And in the process of hunting him, she sort of came out of the dark side, so to speak. And eventually they became friends, and eventually got married. Okay, so and they were a great couple. She was well written in the EU. She's probably the best EU character ever. And then they kill her off in a horrible, horrible way that I wound up burning all of my Star Wars books on a barbecue, all my Star Wars novels. That was when the Star Wars EU died to me. Other than some comic book stories I read once in a while, I basically just had the movies. I couldn't. There is no Star Wars when Mara Jade died. Mara Jade didn't die because she would die if she existed. She would have died. So therefore, she didn't exist to me anymore. There could only be the movies at that point for me. So the movies come out, and The Force Awakens was okay. Wasn't great, but I got that JJ was going for a let's do an homage to the first film to get everyone back into it type of thing. Now, we know for a fact, regardless of what you think about Abrams, okay, The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker were not what he intended to do with the movie trilogy. Okay, he had an entirely different. He had no plans on shitting over Luke Skywalker because JJ likes to make money. He probably would have made it more action oriented than it was, but he would not. Anyway, point is, now the rumor was, what Doomcock and others put out was that Kathleen Kennedy pulled a fast one over J.J. Abrams. That she said, "Oh, I got this guy. What was his name? Rian Jones or whatever. That guy. Said I got this great young director. He could, because J.J. couldn't direct the second film. He had a previous commitment, which I think was a Star Trek film. And said, okay, J.J., we'll get this guy. He's a young director. He's up and coming. You've seen some of his work. He'll do the second film. You come back and do the third." And J.J., okay. So he brought Rian Johnson in at the while I was filming the end of the Force Awakens, and talk with him about the project. And the word was, as soon as he left to go over the other film, Kathleen Kennedy tore up the script. Said, no, we have to do it. We have to get rid of the characters. We need to do the woke, blah blah blah. And that got us The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens, right? And they were offensive to me. So I was just about done with Star Wars, and then The Mandalorian comes out. Now, say you want about The Mandalorian. For what it was, the first 2 seasons were really good. It was just a TV show set in a particular corner of the universe. It wasn't a big high end of Star Wars stories, and it was enjoyable, right? And then Boba Fett comes out. Now, and this is only rumor. The rumor was that Kathleen Kennedy sabotaged the book of Boba Fett. That when Favreau and Filoni went to film, because they had a couple of series they're working on, to film another one, that she basically went in and changed the entirety of Boba Fett. And I was like, and my mind was beginning to say, I'm done with this. I just can't deal with this anymore. Like if they had just left the TV series alone, as long as they, kept them in the time, I could have been okay watching a couple of shows. And then I'm like, okay, the last final straw, Obi-Wan came out, and you were with me on one of my rants there, Mike. Obi-Wan blackpilled me to Disney. The only Disney film I will be considered watching in the next couple of years is Deadpool 3. And it's only because Ryan Reynolds is a Deadpool fan. He has proven his commitment to the character and commitment to the character as depicted. And he's given us 2 good films out of that. And that doesn't mean I'm ever going to watch anything else Disney again. I'm horrified that I have to. I'm glad I'm not giving Disney money to watch Bleach. Okay? So I am blackpilled on for the most part on Disney. So anyway, that's skipping forward a bit. So Wheel of Prime comes out, and I was like, I don't know. Did you ever watch Shad's review of Wheel of Prime there, Mike? Shadiversity on the Night's Watch.
Yeah, I caught most of it. Most of his reviews on that. That's how I found out that you have the Night's Watch channel.
I'll return to that in a minute, Jaden. I want to finish my origin story here. So Shad, I was like Shad with Wheel of Prime. I was like, I knew there was going to be a little bit of woke in there, but I thought Jordan's a feminist. He's a left-leaning person to begin with. His setting included that. I thought they would just run with that, and like when they made like 5 of them Ta'Verian as opposed to 3 of them, which is the one thing in the show. Like if you're doing an adaptation, right? With all Wheel of Time was it 16 books minimum? There was no way they could adapt all of that into like a 10 season 8 episode. There's no way they can fit all of that in there, right? So I thought when they made them Ta'Verian, Egwene and Nynaeve, they were going to sort of use that to sort of shorten their storylines a bit, so they could cut some stuff out. You know what I mean? Like how things just work out for Matt, Rand, and Perrin, so they can just sort of hand wave. Jordan literally hand wave parts of the story for them, like when the food was going bad. Instead of having like a book to deal with the food crisis, Rand just walked by the food and fixed it. You remember that? So I thought they were going to do that with Nynaeve, and I thought that was going to be the sort of woke angle. They would elevate those 2 characters a bit, and that was just the view on the first episode, though, first and second episode. So I was like, shit, I'm going to give this a chance. There'll be some woke stuff in there, but let's see if they stick with it. Now, and my brain was fighting what everything I was seeing was wrong. You know what I mean? Like my brain was saying wrong. And I was saying I got to be objective. I got to be fair about it, right? Like Shad was doing. So my breaking point was when was in the first or second episode when Moraine basically murdered that guy in the river. I was like, this is just wrong. And then it exploded in my head all the stuff that was wrong in that show. And I went back and rewatched the first episode, and literally you remember that opening sort of monologue by Moraine about the Aegis and all that? Like, everyone says, well, it went wrong with the 3rd line. It went wrong with the first line. If you listen to what she says in that first line, it was like the very first line, it was wrong. And it was, and then I remember, wait a minute, most of the first episode should have been about Rand and his dad in the snow. Because it's been a while since I read the book, so I was like, it was coming back to me. And I was like, why was none of that in there? And then like this whole battle in the 2 rivers should have been in the second episode, not the first. And on, and it just sort of exploded as they do it more and more and more until I realized that that literally there was no Sidin and Sidar. Even though Oz pointed out in that 8th episode that the translators called it Sidin, right? In the actual show, there was no difference. There was just one power, And they blamed, and then they made Luce Theron, who was the head of the Aes Sedai. They made him the second guy to what's her face, the one who caused the problem. Do you remember that? The woman who caused the whole event. One of the two women. Because that was there was Landfear. Was it Landfear who broke through the bore? Am I remembering this right?
It was Landfear that drove through the
She drew through the bore, and then the woman there, the other woman, was the one who wanted to use the Choden Cowl to try to kill the Dark One, right? Like, not. I mean, and I believe they understood at the time that the Dark One was integral to creating. You kill the Dark One, everything goes with him. You know what I mean? There's a reason the Creator didn't kill the Dark One either. You know, so and in the middle of that, and at the time in the actual story of the books, like the world's falling apart. They're about to lose the war, and she's coming up with this plan to and Luce there's like let's just steal the friggin' boar. That's what the problem is. Let's steal the damn boar. You know, and no one's listening to him. You know, and then she closes it by not letting any women help him, because if you read the way that okay, anyone listening, this is a blatant spoiler for like the 9th and 10th books of Wheel of Time. Okay, so Jane, I don't know if you read the whole thing yet. Plug your ears for the next 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. Matter of fact, I'll have my hand up like this while the heavy spoiler is on for Wheel of Time. Okay, and when the hand goes down, it's over. So I'm gonna keep it up here. So remember in the book how spoilers coming, how Nynaeve and Rand worked together to cleanse the taint, right? Mm-hmm. If you remember how that worked, how how Saidar was untaintable, because it's a power that couldn't be resisted. You remember that? In other words, whereas Saidin was controllable, that's why it was taintable, right? So the implication of that. Okay, so Jane read the whole thing, so I can take my hand down. I'm still going to spoil. I'm going to take my hand down because I don't want to get my hand up. So the implication of what they did was that if the women had helped him in the past and used Saidin and Saidar together, they would have actually sealed the bore and not been tainted. Because the way it's phrased, the Dark One tainted Saidin after Luce Theron did what he did. In other words, not while he was doing it. It's in response the Dark One tainted Saidin, right? So that meant he still had the power to taint Saidin at any time he wanted to do it. Okay? And we know that in the future because he needed to taint Saidin to get Luce Theron to come over to his side, because that's his actual end game, is getting the dragon who's reborn to choose his side, and therefore, because he's the only one who can stop him, right? That's the whole meta story of going on there, right? So in the stupid show, when they did what they did, where they made Luce Theron the one who caused the problem, you remember that? That wasn't like when he was arguing with What's-Her-Face? Yeah. Mike, I was like this. I literally started to raise my hand, and I came this close to punching my screen. And my fist was going towards it, and I stopped myself and said, it cost me too much money to replace this computer, this screen right now. It just cost me too much. I stopped myself. I grabbed my arm. So offensive. But that's still skipping ahead, right? Because I was talking about my problem with the series. About the 3rd episode, I got a drink. Sorry, guys. But then again, hunting for the inevitable Pepsi response.
Yeah, for me, I'm over here with the 7-Up.
Yeah.
I like it.
So I will accept the Pepsi promo, and Mike will accept a 7-Up sponsorship guy, Coke and Pepsi.
Who wants 7-Up? Isn't it Pepsi Cola?
Is it Pepsi or Coke? No, Pepsi has Sierra Mist.
Sprite. Oh, okay.
Coke has Sprite, so I think 7-Up is its own company. I think 7-Up is 7-Up in Canada dry.
Dr. Pepper Snapple Group.
Okay, so Dr. Pepper. So Dr. Pepper, Mike needs a 7-Up sponsorship. He'll give you some hijinks with it.
I'll still on my keyboard at least once a week.
Yep. So about the 3rd episode comes along, and I'm like, I can't be the only one. I can't be the only one, like the 2nd episode, that thinks this. I'm like, is my mental illness acting up, or like is this really this bad? Remember I was saying I was trying to be objective about it. So I load up YouTube, and I'm like, I know Shad's gonna review. I trust him as a reviewer. I go watch it, and I'm like, and I see Shad doing what I'm doing, trying to be objective, and then I can see Shad slowly like cracking under the strain, and I see the other guy with him who's not on the show anymore, the heavier guy, saying Shad, this just sucked. It sucked from the beginning, and I'm like, okay, it's not just me. It is not just me, I said, right? So Shad recommends a guy named Disparu. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his reviews, but Disparu has ripped those like the best rip aparts I've ever seen of Wheel of Time, or even Rings of. He's not his rip aparts of Rings of Prime aren't as good as the Wheel of Prime ones. Like like I can tell off the top of his head he knows the Wheel of Time material better than the Lord Tolkien stuff. So like he like scene by scene like without even I don't think he had a script. He was just ripping apart those episodes. And I'm like yeah I know I saw that too. I getting with him and then from there does anyone else feel the same way? And I YouTube for some stuff. And this is before they were shadow banning everyone. I found one of Salty's videos, and so I watched. Oh, this is pretty cool. So this guy Salty, he's in a smaller YouTube, so it's not just the big guys, And Salty, so I started watching Salty's his stream. And I think you guested on guested on his stream that week. Oh, this guy OBG. I keep calling you.
Actually, I was the one that started the stream. We just did it on his channel. I was the host.
Well, I didn't know. I'm just saying.
Then I became the co-host, and then I became a guest, and then
yeah. So, but anyway, you two were on that stream, and I was like, I watched it one night, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. So these are smaller YouTubers. They're not just the big ones, My allergies are now blowing up. Sorry, guys. Gotta try to blow my nose a little bit. Live blowing your nose. No, it's a silent one. It's just, when your nose gets stuffy and your ears get pop closed. That's what happened more than anything. So, I watched that and I'm like, this guy. It took me the longest time to get that you were you were OBG70. I kept calling you something else like OB what like a number too. It was like OB something 99 in my head for a while, and OBS 99. Okay, because OBS. Well, even though it's the application, there's a long. If you were ever in the versus formats on a forum called Space Battles, there's something called O Big Steve, which is the greatest starship ever invented. Like there was I know I'm going into the rabbit hole of the internet with this one, but I used to be on a forum called Space Battles before it got taken over by leftists. And one of the things they used to do were Space Battles, like they would make up ships and have them fight each other, right? And one guy makes up a ship called O Big Steve because another guy named Steve made a ship that beat his. And O Big Steve was like kind of if you combined the Lex from the Lex with some really overpowered ships to keep it simple. And O Big Steve was unbeatable, so it became a running joke on the site, so that a lot of us old space battlers every time that's just what, even with OBS the application, we in our head we're thinking O Big Steve, Space Battles and Star Wars Net were two of the biggest science fiction battle forums in the 80 for like 15 years. Anyway, back to what I was talking about. So there was you and Salty. And you kind of, I guess, because like you said, you disappeared from your stream. I lost track of you for a little bit, so I found Adam. I'll get to that in a minute. So Salty, I was obviously doing my channel, my loreism in the channel because I can't stand two things, which I will always speak up about. If you can find something out by 6 seconds in Googling it, I will get you all the time in the chat. I will bring it up all the time. You know what I mean? Like if someone says, "Oh, Arwen's mother was named, Galadriel," that's a 6 second Google. You know what I mean? Like I will call you out on that in any chat I'm in. Like I'll bring it up. No, this is not accused very well. I'll just say, no, Arwen's mother was Celebrian. You know what I mean? Just as a statement of fact, not like calling the person out. And the other thing that I will do on these chats is because I have so much freaking trivia in my head, I'll just drop it all the time, like what I remember about stuff. I never thought I'd ever use for all this trivia I picked up over the years, but so I just drop it all the time, right? So I started doing that, and people came to know me for that, and eventually I started talking with Salty and Zax on the side, and they were like, "Oh, you have all this knowledge, you have opinions, you should start putting your videos out there." And I had made Unbearable Studies as a channel like 2 years earlier, thinking about doing it, but never really moved forward with it. And then I'm like, they're right. If you stay silent, if you stay silent about this crap, you're culpable to a degree. All that requires for evil triumphs of good men to do nothing type of thing. Another thing is, how do I put it? Another thing is that I wanted to kind of do this. This seemed like an interesting hobby to do. You know, it'd be great if I have like thousands of subscribers someday and monetize and subscribe star and all that sort of stuff. But if I can get to 300-400 viewers on a consistent basis, you know, maybe have a subscriber so I get a couple hundred a month, I can put back into the hobby. You know what I mean? Because I really want to do computer stuff with tinkering, but I don't have any spare stuff to do that with right now. And also there's some other cool hobby related things I'd like to be doing, like making model kits and things like that. I just don't have the money in real life to do all that right now. So anyway, to me that's kind of where so like Zax and Salty got me into putting the content out there, and that's kind of my origin story on this whole mess. You know, and it's led to where I now like my regular. I claim that Wednesday night 11 p.m. slot for a live stream. You know, so I think that, you know, that'll be going for a while. I may wind up grabbing the 6 p.m. slot too on a weekly basis, just for an hour, not for like a long time, just to get my name out there. You know, you got to get out there. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really.
We got D&D every Wednesday going forward.
Yeah. So we do D&D. Well, you have the two D&D groups, both the same time frame, Monday and Wednesday, which is what on Eastern Standard Time. That's 7 p.m. to about 10:30, give or take.
Yep.
And the Monday group is are we doing the same modules or just different groups?
No. Monday is Keep on the Borderlands.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so Monday, Keep on the Borderlands, and we're in the. I guess we're doing a different module this time because we finished that.
Yeah, it's the Trouble in not Trouble in Childhood. What's it called? Dunwater. Something about Dunwater.
Yeah. So
it's the sequel to Sinister Secret of the Salt Marsh.
Yeah. So we have a different module we're doing with DM Greg, who's a good DM so far. I really enjoy his DMing. Within the limitations of the setting, obviously, the software, you know, which is good software, by the way. It's just, you know, as an IT person, I can always find reasons to criticize software in a productive sense. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, is what I do in real life. I work in healthcare IT right now. Anywho, so after getting there and doing my own stuff, for some reason I found Adam's channel, right? It wasn't his live streams, or his gaming. He did a video, I just can't remember which one it was, and I watched it. Oh, this guy's similar opinions, you know, and he was angry about something. He's passionate, and then I went to his live stream, and you were on his live stream, and I'm like, oh, there's that guy, OBS 99. You know, there's that guy.
Yep. OB Steve.
Yeah, old Big Steve. Yeah, and then it took about 3 weeks. I thought he's OBG 70, OBG. I had to say it to myself, and then Mike and I became friends after that. You know.
Well, not anymore. After I know all this.
Yeah, you know.
Get my name on all this time.
Yeah, and I guess it was your astronomy, because we both have an interest in science and stuff. And Mike, when's the last time you did an astronomy? Like 3 weeks ago, astronomy live stream.
Oh, it's been a while. Yeah. I've been busy.
He does.
Been absolute crap.
Yeah. On one of his 602 channels, he has he does astronomy live streams, which are pretty cool. Especially when I got in, we were both talking about the stars and some sciencey stuff related to them. You know, and it's cool to see it live. Like when I was a kid, I did a little bit of astronomy. I had a telescope and I look at the moon and some, you know, Halley's Comet and stuff like that. But I lived in the middle of like the urban sprawl of the East Coast, and there was nowhere you're going to see much besides the moon. You know. And then my family they gave my telescope to my cousins, and like I didn't have time to ever get back to it. And I'm like, in my head, if I ever get to the suburbs, I'll probably buy a telescope, not like you have per se, but you know, a good one, and just do a little bit of looking up there again, because it is a fascinating topic, you know. But so he did. I guest on a couple of his streams for that, and then he does an occasional Friday night chill stream about sci-fi and all that. I've been on that for a few times. So we became friends over that course of time. We bonded over the disasters they've done to our
origin story is mine or yours? You gotta get back on you.
Well, I've done it. I've given my origin story as far as all this goes. Now I'm telling everyone how you got involved. Right. You know, so that is where that came. Back to Jaden had questions. EU. Okay, I blame Lucas's company, Lucas Limited, for killing Mara Jade. Okay. I don't blame Kevin Travis. I don't hate her like a lot of people hate her as a writer. I don't love her either. If Mara Jade, see, the problem to me was She was killed. Spoilers, people. By the way, spoilers for this. I know Jane knows. I know you probably know, or you don't care. She was killed by the character in the Star Wars EU that is a good guy character that the people hate the most, Jason Solo. People hate him. They hated him from the moment he appeared on screen. No, not when he was a little kid. He was okay. Both him and his sister were okay when they were little kids. But when he became a whiny, like the Force is wrong, the Jedi are wrong, type of Force user, you could see him becoming a friggin' Sith, a Dark Jedi or some sort, a mile away, you know. And they decided that, like, as part of his becoming a Sith, he had to kill a Jedi, and he killed Mara Jade, who was his little godmother and his Jedi mentor. And even Luke's hunting that little twerp down across the galaxy, where he ran in fear from Luke, like, forever. After that, he just ran from Luke, because Luke was going to kill him, you know. Because Luke at that point was the most powerful Force user other than Sonoma Selkat ever. And Sonoma Selkat is a planet that has the Force powers of an entire species, so that's explainable. But I remember reading, because I was about to buy 6 more Star Wars novels, including that one, and I'm reading through them and like what they're about. And I always try, and someone said, Matt, you're not gonna like this book. So I kind of read and I found out that that's what happened, and I specifically read it to make sure it was true. I skipped books to read it, and it said, "Fuck this." Didn't even finish the book. Pulled all my Star Wars novels off the shelf, and I was like over 100 of them. Lit up the barbecue and barbecued them. I just that was it. I just you know it just like with Star Wars and the Last Jedi with Luke.
I've never been that angry, but I've donated my books off to the library or whatever it was, or I've put garage sale them or something like that. But
Yeah.
I've never
Yeah.
gone to the extreme of cooking them.
Well, I wasn't in a good mental place in life at the time either, so that probably contributed to it. But yeah. So that was.
I just stopped caring. It's like, do I save this or do I let it go? Let it go.
Yeah. Well, like I said, when it happened, I don't know, was it 20 years ago almost now? Oh my God, I was in a very angry place. So. Oh, Jaden, yeah. So the scene Jaden was at, and his next question after marriage, Jade, was about when we were talking with what Nynaeve and Rand did to cleanse the taint. So they formed a circle, and they each had the male and female halves of the Choden Kal, right? So, and then what Rand did was he came up with the idea, since he knew that Saidar couldn't be tainted, or he theorized it, because it was completely irresistible. Like there's nothing that could resist it, right? But Saidin had the power to be utterly controlled. So they merged it, and I got what he was doing because I've done enough math over life to perceive the geometry involved. It was almost like he made a funnel, and had like a 3D cone narrowed to a particular point with 0 at the origin, and pulled Saidin through it with a parallel plane of Saidar intersecting the cone. I know I'm trying to overlay mathematically here. I got the geometry that Jordan was describing from it, but basically, he put it in such a way that the taint couldn't pass through Saidar to go along with Saidin, and he pulled the entirety of all of his half of the one power, all of it in the universe, through that 0 point, and left the taint out of it. And it was a triumphant moment. It was probably, how there was that point in the after book 6 or 7 where the books kind of meandered a bit too much. You know what I mean? A lot of people call it like, and it got back on track after that. Maybe 2 books later, that type of thing. When Rand and Nynaeve did that, that was a triumphant moment to me. And Nynaeve was a character that I hated her in the sense that you're supposed to hate her when you meet her at the beginning, right? But by the end of it, Rand and Nynaeve are equally my favorite characters in the books. By the end of the whole series, I appreciate her journey. I appreciate Rand's journey. I don't hate Egwene the way a lot of people do hate Egwene. Especially at the end, she basically died to help everyone. So it's. I should. I keep telling them I got to read. There's so many things I want to read and reread. I don't think I'm going to live long enough to do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I just wish I had more reading time. I have so many books I need to read, and
Yeah.
just haven't.
Yep.
I'm supposed to reading Witcher, and I haven't gotten into that. I have barely started that one.
Yeah. There's Now, there's one other topic I thought about. What was?
Well, I got about 5-ish minutes at 5
Yeah.
o'clock p.m.
So, Mike, advertise yourself while you got 5 minutes left.
Advertise myself. Yeah, so I have a channel, OBG70. You can find it on YouTube. On Monday, every other Monday, I do Dungeons and Dragons second edition on my channel. Wednesdays, every Wednesday I do the same thing. Thursdays, I talk about Stargate SG1. Fridays, occasionally I do an After Dark show if I'm going to be around. And that's pretty much it. I may fold something in there someplace, but I'm trying to get away from doing live streams and especially get away from doing them on schedule. So I'm pretty much sticking to Monday, Wednesday. That way I have much more free time.
Okay.
It's kind of crazy how much more free time I have now.
Yeah, it's always a balance, Like I want to do, I want to do live streams, but I don't want to do ultra long ones. You know what I mean? Like just two. I want to do my hours on Wednesday nights.
I would like to do a morning show, cup of coffee show. Just sit there and talk about the news and current events. I do not want to do it on my channel. I want to do it, or on this channel. I want to do it on maybe a different one. Like I have to come up with
Like a politics channel or something.
Yeah, like a politics channel or something.
Yeah.
Just kind of go over the news. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of bookmarks on Twitter that I would love to talk about, but it's just it's going to get my channel shut down. I really need to do it on an alternate platform like BitChute or Odyssey or Rumble or something.
Yeah.
But you have to have to do live streams. I think you have to have 100 subscribers on Rumble, if I remember correctly, before they'll even let you do a live stream. So
I don't even know if I have any. So I haven't looked at my Rumble page in so long. I mirror to there just in case, but
same, yeah.
I don't know. Let's take a look over there.
And also all the software like restreams and stuff, they have to be able to connect to it.
Where they show how many subs you have on Rumble, if any.
I don't know.
Like I click on my profile, it goes right to the monetization page. Account overview. Oh, you know where you have to go? My videos, my content. And then if you like your live page, you know what I mean? Like, and it'll say I have 1 subscriber on Rumble. What about Odyssey? Let's go see what Odyssey is. Like Rumble has the auto mirror, so I have that running. Odyssey, Creator Analytics. I got 2 followers on Odyssey, but I get a lot of views over there. I got 118 views so far, which that's from the beginning. But like I get a couple a week over there, which so that's pretty good.
I can add custom RTMP to do certain things, so that wouldn't be the end of the world. But the default on a lot of these things is like, for example, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, LinkedIn, and Trovo, which I'm not familiar with Trovo.
Yeah, so I have social accounts. I do obviously Twitter, Gab, Getter, Parler, and Truth. I just link when I post a video. I just link on them. And the only one that I ever go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I want to check out Minds.
I have an account there, but the site's awkward to use for me. I've been getting her into locals a little bit too. Because I know a lot of content creators like locals. Because locals is linked to Rumble, by the way. If you didn't.
For example, Restream, because that was Melon I was looking at. So Restream has a whole bunch more that they do. And again, most of these things, I don't even know what they are. But here's something interesting. There's some here that look like they might be Korean and Chinese and others that I might want to tap into. So, that's so interesting.
Oh, you found something. That's good.
Yeah. I'll have to tell Alexis about that. Because on the off Mondays, or the opposite Mondays, I'm over there co-hosting with Alexis and Jed Hollywood Scholar on Alexis's channel. Phoenician Rises, we talk about Asian cinema, movies, TV shows, manga.
That's cool.
All that kind of stuff. So if one of these goes to Japan or to Korea, That would be awesome. That would actually be really cool. So I'll have to look into that.
That's pretty cool.
Screenshot this and share it. Cool. But, yeah. Hanging out with you, I go down rabbit holes I never intended to. So.
Well, we make each other think about stuff, which is good. That's a good friendship, you know.
Yep.
Okay, and anyway, to follow up what I was saying before about the streaming, I want to do like I'm grabbing that Wednesday night slot. I have a bi-weekly show called Grumpier Not So Old Men that right now I do it with Steven Ransom. You're of an age to come on that too if you ever want to pop in. We're looking at our perspective type of stuff with.
Oh, one that's on Wednesdays late.
Wednesday late, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm drained after being you guys just get off the computer.
No, that's fine. You don't have to. I'm just saying.
I get stressed about the show all day long, and by the time we're done, I'm done.
Yeah.
Easy chair, find something to watch, done.
Yeah, no problems or whatever. I'm just saying that stream. I'm targeting that stream at people like with our perspective being middle aged, looking back at all the change we've seen in the fandoms and music and all that. Like this week, Grumpy or Not So Old Men is going to be doing bands like musicians and bands. Should they stay? Should they quit? Should they make a change up? Like bands like have been around a long time, like U2, Metallica, and all that. Like have been around for decades. You know, because sometimes when these bands are around, musicians around for decades, you know they should kind of quit after. You get the sense of listening to them that they just collecting a paycheck and they don't really have the ability to perform anymore. So that's the topic for this particular week. Assuming Steven comes on because he's an. Yep. Okay, Jaden, thanks for joining us. Yeah, well, I'm going to end the stream. Probably talk till a little bit after Mike goes, just a few other, but about 2 hours a good 50 sub celebration, and we'll have future stuff, so.
Absolutely.
Yep. Anyway, thanks for joining me, Mike. When you have to go, you have to go.
Yeah, you got it. I do have dinner waiting over there, and I did not talk to my kids. I did not dip out like I was saying I was going to. So
did you catch Bleach yet? Were you able to watch it yet?
Rewatch what?
Were you able to watch Bleach yet? The episode.
The first one. I watched the first one.
Okay.
Is the second one out yet?
I'll let you know in 7 seconds.
I thought you said Thursday. So.
Well, I thought Thursday. I thought Thursdays as well, but let's see.
It just seems like it's been longer than a week since I watched it, so I don't know.
Yes, only the first episode is still out so far. So.
Okay. Yeah. I've been watching, like I said, Justified. I discovered the show. I know it's been out and I've heard of it. You mentioned it as well. I just never really watched any episodes. I blew through season 1 a couple days ago. Now I'm on season 2.
Yeah, I love season 1. I loved it. The only thing I will say about the later seasons, you know how the phrase subverted expectations.
Yeah.
They subvert your expectations in one of the middle seasons, and I think they do it to make it so that you're unsure of the outcome, so that when the outcome happens, which is similar to the end of season 1, where Raylan goes full cowboy, like if he did that every season, it would get tired. You know what I mean? So they subvert you in the middle of it to say, well, maybe it's gonna be a little different. So you're always a little surprised by the endings, But I mean, Raylan is an awesome character.
I will say that his ex-wife, now current dating thing, she's like very hot.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of hot women on the show.
I thought whatever her name was, Ava. I thought she was okay, but I wasn't like gross or anything. She's fine looking. She's
Yeah. Well,
she's nice.
Ava,
his wife. Oh damn.
Ava is not Raylan's girl. I'll put it that way.
Oh right. Yeah. But that's kind of a spoiler though.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna dip out. Thanks for having me on, man. Congratulations on plus 50.
Yep. Thanks, man. Thank you.
Yep. Next one's gonna be what, 100?
Yeah, I hope so. We'll keep working my way up. 100. I'll do 100 sub celebration for sure.
Excellent. All right.
Thanks, man.
I'll be online and offline. I'll be on my. I'll probably be on Discord on.
Yeah. So Salty said he's not going tonight, so I might run my stream just to 8:30 to talk about some random stuff.
Yeah, he's got his show starting in 15 minutes, I think, right?
I thought he said he's not doing it tonight.
Oh, okay. All right. Well.
So if he doesn't, then I'll probably go to 8:30 or so. Just because I want to do some Linux stuff. Talk.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Cool.
Thanks,
All right.
buddy.
Everyone on chat, Jaden, good night. Everybody, good night. See you on the replay.
Yep.
And I'll be out. Okay.
Thank you. Bye. So that was my good friend Mike at OBG70. When I fix this upload with the below, I'll link to his channel, his main channel anyway, the OBG70 channel. So, mostly, unless Salty is going live in 5 or 10 minutes or whatever, I am going to end the stream in probably 15 minutes. Just to share two more little things. I switched to Linux a while back, maybe 2 months ago now, on the desktop. I do a periodic Living with Linux stream. It's irregular. I just go live once in a while, talk about when I make a breakthrough. My biggest problem right now is I'm comfortable with I'm comfortable with where I am and with it, and can live with the way it's structured, and don't necessarily want to push past it to get even more structure in there. Even though I want to, from a tinkering point of view, I'm like, I'd rather work with what I have to be productive and so forth. Not, But there will be more. There's a couple more Living Linux videos out there. Beyond that, I think I'm gonna call it. Let me just take a look, see around if there any pressing news topics in the entertainment area that I want to bring up. Oh, you should be watching Bleach, people. The first episode of the new season was really good. Mike and I talked about Justified. You go back and watch Justified. There's another show called The Last Ship. Go back and watch that from a couple years ago. All this modern woke crap can go to hell. The Last of Us TV show, I tried to watch it. It sucked. The Interview with the Vampire TV show sucked. It was a complete abortion of an attempt. It's basically retconning the actual Interview with the Vampire book. That sucked. What doesn't suck? I don't even know anymore. Oh no, I blanked you guys out. Oops. By the way, there we go. Sorry guys. I blanked you out there. Let me remove Mike. I removed Firefox, not Mike. There we go. Move me back up into my prime spot there and make myself a little bigger. Let's go back. So, I think I'm ready to call it. So I'm just looking around to make sure any other topics I want to cover live that I thought necessary to cover live. Hitting the bigger topic sites. Yeah, I think that's it, guys. So I got my 50 subs out there. My lore videos have taken off. So here's what's coming up for me. I still have to publish my review of episode 8 of Rings of Prime. That will hopefully be out. I'll work on it after I go offline here. I'm going to link below to a whole bunch of people who help me out. Salty Texas C, Zax, Mike from OBG70, the Anna the Renaissance Nerd, a whole bunch of others who've been good to me. I'll link to the calendar for Salty's Tech Wolfpack group below. Probably will get it up there later tonight. And what I have coming tomorrow night at 11, Wednesday, I'll be on Mike's channel for D&D from 7 to about 10:30. 11 o'clock, I'll have Grumpy You're Not So Old Man episode 2 with me and Steven Ransom, talking about music-related stuff. And so that's my weekly start at 11 p.m. I will do review. I will be adding Bleach to my reviews. I will be getting back to reviewing Stranger Things. And every week I'm going to be doing a Tolkien lore video from here on out, or roughly every week. So, my name is Matt. This has been Unbearable 73, my 50 sub live stream celebration. Thanks to all of you who joined. I'm going to end the stream in 5,